This meeting to order. If all you people, if you haven't signed in, please sign in so we know who has arrived. Why don't we just do a quick roll call? We never really done that, so I think that's official. Just do roll call of the board members. We'll start with Matt.
Matt Emerson here.
Ian Cordell.
Rich Stork.
Paul Slazer.
Sue Means. Tina Heidelberger.
Thank you very much. Let's start with last month's meeting and approval of the minutes.
All right, our last meeting was on June 13th. The wastewater operator update, Terry was not able to attend. He was working on a lift station at a different location, so Rich presented in his absence. Televising of the lines were completed in Shorewood. There were some areas of concern identified as having sediment or sand that needed to be jetted. This will be completed within the next month by Terry. This means that 90% of our infrastructure has now been televised and cleaned within the last 2 years. Spring maintenance was completed on the lift station. Lift stations did need to be cleaned of debris, which appears to have not been done in several years. He will be providing a bid on the manhole that needs to be repaired in the lower lakeside circle. We have 2 homes also in that area that have inflow and need to be addressed. Flow rates were a low of 11,250 gallons a day, and the high was 16,350 a day for the month of May. Quarterly testing is due this month and will be completed, which is a 4-hour composite test. Chairman of the board update, the contract with LJJ has been completed and fully executed. We met with Nestle Township to discuss road plowing. They have said that the township does not want to drop the contract, that's wrong. They want to drop the contract and all past due. Now that I'm looking at that, that's not right.
This township does want to drop the contract.
They do want to drop the contract, and Shorewood and all past due payments were brought to date. They're looking for us to create a proposal of ideas of how we can continue to work together. We've obtained 2 bids from other vendors, but both are in the range of approximately $300 per snow event of more than 2 inches. The feedback from Nestle Township was that they would receive a number of complaints from residents of Shorewood and were not regulated to follow the plowing guidelines. We need to educate our residents about the fact that plowing is not something that we're paying for out of pocket currently, other than the royalties that we receive from Midco. They shared that because of a confrontation with one of their plow drivers with a resident, this employee quit on the spot. There's a state statute that a township cannot provide plowing for private roads, which Shorewood is private, without paying the current rate for plowing services. Currently, Rushway does not pay for road services, but they are part of the district that is getting plowed, so we will need to address that in the future as well. The Rushway manhole was repaired, and Rich followed up with Mr. Ertz to get the road completed. Expansion did not receive any state funding in the last session. We do still have the federal funding, but we've not confirmed what strings are attached to this money. The residents working on the expansion have a meeting set for Tuesday. Board members are not expected to attend, but Rich, Paul, and Dean will be attending to provide continued support towards the possible project. Our current permit needed to be renewed in 2019. Has been put on hold because of the expansion, but we need to decide how much longer we'll put this off before a decision is made about the expansion. We approved the bills as listed there. Financial report, our investment accounts was $204,144.74 and $19,761.66 in our cash account. Copies of the proposed budget and expenditures to date were provided to the board. Only pending update was to add the royalties paid to Nestle Township, and those also have been posted at the pump house for residents to view. Old business, channel update from Sue. They had a meeting last month. They discussed dumping sediments in Shorewood. They'll need to be creating a plan to present to the board by August. Branson stressed the importance of getting the land deeded to an entity. Paul checked with the League of Minnesota Cities on if the land is deeded to Shorewood. There would be no concern about having the land under the channels deeded to Shorewood. Sue received a call from the channel homeowner that they'd like to get a vote from residents allowing Shorewood to receive the deeded property. Motion was tabled until a vote can be obtained. Tim and Sue are meeting with the DNR this week to discuss the statutes of permits or the status of permits and having the name changed to Shorewood Sanitary District. The contractor toured both channels today and a layout of the yards. Expansion update was previously addressed. Road repairs, Rich was providing Paul with a couple of names of residents who would be willing to assist, so that could be addressed ASAP. Areas need to be marked and separated by streets and areas and obtain a bid. Suggested using Premier Outdoors as we've used them in the past, and they're competitive with pricing and allowed us to pay the amount due over a period of time versus one lump sum. And then we also addressed Nestle Township and plowing previously. New business. The Shorewood newsletter, Tina presented as a draft as a starting point. We need to include the information on the sewer system, changes to our board, a change in the wastewater operator vendor, plowing, discuss having a newsletter shared quarterly. Rich would like to see sharing the importance of our flow rates and how this ties into our homes and the value of our homes directly. This is also a forum that we can use to share information about plowing requirements for future regarding fish houses being parked alongside the roads, property markers that are not breakaway, and vehicles parked along the roads. Goal is to have each board member be tasked with providing Tina an update assigned by July 1st as follows. Sue with the channel, Paul with road updates, Rich would handle the sewer updates, Dean the expansion updates, and Matt technology and the website. We did a wage study. Rich asked that all board members review the information. Kelly Stork suggested combining the role of the clerk and treasurer to be more in line with the duties performed. Shorewood land, the land that is jointly owned has not been planted. Motion was made by Sue and seconded by Matt to spray the 2 acres with Roundup and reimburse Joe Heidelberger $150. That was passed. Dennis Wood reimbursement. Paul reached out to our legal counsel about the reimbursement for Dennis Wood for the continuing education classes that he attended, but he resigned from his position prior to attending. There was frustration expressed over this request, as this is money coming directly from our residents and neighbors' pockets. And with the threat of Dennis Wood suing the district over this money if not paid, Matt Anderson states it would be in our best interest to avoid any additional costs and our residents and to pay the $500 to Mr. Wood. By doing this, we should not have any future interactions with Mr. Wood about reimbursements. Matt made a motion to pay Dennis Wood $500. It was seconded by Paul. Rich declined, but the motion was carried. Any corrections, changes, or comments?
Yeah, a couple of them. One, Mr. Wood never threatened to sue the district. The attorney that I contacted, our legal counsel, said that in the event that he chose to do that,
Okay.
that we would, we'd be spending a lot more money. And Rich doesn't vote on things unless there's a tie.
Okay.
I did have a phone call from Dennis, and he talked about the possibility of suing. So,
He did? Okay.
yeah, but that's just on a phone call. So.
Yeah.
It don't matter. Yeah, I remember you saying that before, so,
Yeah.
yes, he has started, so.
Okay.
I think he can come and defend himself if he likes.
Yeah.
I would like to add on the channel update for one of my things is to welcome the new homeowners,
Okay.
With their welcome bag and information about
So
Shorewood.
you're referring to like the monthly or the quarterly newsletter that you'd like to do it in the newsletter on the channel?
Yes, and
Correct.
I'll
Okay.
be the one that you let me know who's new, like
Yep.
today,
Yep.
and I'll go around to those people.
Okay. Anything else?
Can I get a motion to accept the minutes?
Got it.
Second,
I'll second.
Aye.
Aye.
Favor, I approve. Thank you. Just for that, can you hear if somebody's speaking out there, or do they need to come up to the microphone?
They should go to the microphone just so we get it on the record.
That'd be greatly appreciated, thanks. If you have something to say. All right, so we approved the minutes, wastewater update. Terry's not here again today. He did show up for the last meeting. When I was gone, I was hoping somebody would have contacted him. He did show up and sat here for a couple minutes, so I think we should talk about what would happen in the case that it does get changed at the last minute. Make sure that if we have any visitors coming, that somebody does contact them. So I was just a little disappointed about that. But Terry was busy today. He did give me some updates on a couple things. Flows this month are looking really good. I'll just go over that. He just shot them to me again. So this is the month of June. We'll get July's update in a couple weeks, but high flow was 13,043 gallons. And that was on 6/4. If you want to check dates, I don't know if that was a rain day or what was so special about that day, but the low was roughly 9,088 gallons flowing. So we're right in line as we should be, so that's great news. One PM he is dealing with, or he's dealt with this last month, is he's treating for the duckweed out at the ponds, on the treatment ponds. It's really thick and it's kind of due to the weather. No rain, real hot, so he is treating for that. And that is covered in his PMs. I asked him, is there a cost for that? Is there any additional cost? He said no. He says it's covered in his PMs. That's basically the update for June. Things are going well on the wastewater. We talked about a couple things in the minutes that I'll reach out to him about. Again, I'll try to get him to put some bids together for PMs. I know the manhole is one thing that he talked about. Something else that's been brought up in the past, and I did see some information on it, I think Paul's brought it up also, is the discharge culvert needs some attention. So I think I'll get him out there to take a look at that. We did get a bid in the past on that, but I know this last fall when we were discharging, we all kind of thought it was in kind of rough shape.
It's even worse now. I went back there a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
Is that something that the county's responsible for?
I don't know, we'll get a bid and then we'll approach it that way. I think that's part of our wastewater treatment plant. The ditch is their responsibility to keep clean. I think that's where the line draws, and I'm just going off of historical data passed on to me.
We can ask, the worst we can do is say no.
Right. All right, chairman updates. It was a busy month. I think the big thing that we've been dealing with quite a bit back and forth is I am getting updates as far as the expansion. I'll let Dean kind of fill in the gaps as we go. We did have the meeting. The biggest thing that came out of that meeting with HR Green and the expansion people is we kind of needed a good rough order of magnitude put together for them to make a final decision if they want to continue to move on. We did learn a lot about the grant. The grant is an 80% grant of whatever the total is going to be. I did receive that update from Tim. He did kind of put a rough order of magnitude together, but some of the numbers were off a little bit. So Dean and Becky have been working and massaging those numbers to kind of bring that rough order of magnitude into line a little bit. I just received that from Becky. I'll share that with everybody so we have it. But I think the next step is Dean and Becky are going to make sure that they contact all the people in the expansion and present that letter one way or the other, either by email or handing them out. There were a couple people that needed to be updated and understand what's going on. So they're going to be tasked with that process. Go ahead.
How many people are in the expansion?
There's a total of 23 lots.
And that goes from where to where?
That goes basically from Old Pearson Road, or basically the Rush Way corner, and it goes up to, it's 23 homes to the north. It stops, I don't know what the last address is, Dean.
I don't have that.
In relation to the cemetery?
The last
It's
house.
before the cemetery.
The last house in the row, and then once you get to that point, then there's
Like
some
And
low
there's a new
land
house.
and stuff, so that's not included. Right up to that last house.
Up to the drainage.
Yeah, right, basically,
That's the
right.
drainage.
That's where it is. With that updated letter, they'll get that out. And one question I wanted to ask you, Matthew, is I would like them, we're kind of looking for just a straw vote on which way they're thinking. Is there a way that they can contact our website and just reach out to us with an email for the expansion? Would that be the easiest way? They can just reach into the website and let us know how they feel? You know,
Probably on the contact us page,
Right.
just send us an email, and then Rich and I will receive those emails and we'll forward them on to the rest of the board members.
Okay, all right.
Do you want that response with a yay or nay, or just their thoughts?
Both. Well, I'd really like to know a yea or nay. I'd like to know how they are feeling as we start moving forward into these meetings. Because one way or the other, we're gonna have to start the process of, you know, publicly, you know, letting people know that we are gonna do this vote. And before we move on and spend any money, any of that grant, I just kinda wanna know how they feel about it. So that took a, you know, a lot of emails back and forth going this week. The other thing, or this month, the other big issue was I did meet with the township about the plowing. That was last night. I did put some information together and kind of came up with a proposal, and I presented that to them. That proposal basically, you know, I worked out the cost, what we do get with the royalties. There was a shortfall between how much the royalties that they are getting and what typically would be a cost to plow our area based on the two bids that we did receive. There was like a shortfall of roughly $2,000. So these are the numbers that were kicked around. I don't know if you've ever received bids for plowing, but they're all over the board. You know, it's kind of based on the average amount of snow, which is 50 inches in Rush City. Some plowers will do it by the month and then bill you more if they go over that. Some people do it by the plow. So it's kind of all over the board. I did work with some information from the township on how they paid for it, and they do it by hourly to a third-party contractor. And the numbers that I came with and some of the numbers were really kind of in line of basically what they would have to charge us in the future. And it's roughly that $2,000 mark. So they accepted that proposal. I think the township basically said the old agreement, they need to terminate it. It's outdated, it's not real legal, it doesn't really fall in line with the Minnesota statute that they presented. So at this point, the first line was they have to terminate the existing agreement, and that's the letter that we received today. They basically terminated the old agreement. They are going to put together a proposal of that they will continue to plow for us. The royalties are still in play, which is roughly the $4,000. That would be, you know, part of the monies that they collect, but we would be paying them the remainder based on an hourly wage, and they would invoice us per month. There were some other terms we talked about, how much equipment, what equipment, how much time they're going to plow, but there's really nothing much more we can do until we see what that proposal is.
What are the perimeters? What are the perimeters to say you got to plow?
The trigger is basically, well, depending on who you talk to, okay? So if there's a 1 to 6 inch snowfall, then that's a trigger to come plow, okay? That was one of the people that we got a bid from. The other one was 1 to 4, then they got a plow. Talking to Money Gap, one of the things that they really want to concentrate on a plow is they really don't want to see it get to 2 inches, because if it, you know, it really it depends on the snowfall, George. There's so many variables. If they wait too long, it gets icy, right? So they do their best to get out there between the snow inch of 1 to 2 inches, and they're always going to wait for the snow event to stop, right? So it's really, there are no hard written rules for snow plowing. You are never going to satisfy everybody about how good the roads are plowed. It'll never happen. So basically, what I talk about is expectations. You need to understand what expectations are of Shorewood. They do not like plowing Shorewood. They want to drop it completely because of the historical abuse that they have received from the residents throughout Shorewood. Shorewood is not an easy place to plow. By any, I don't care who it is or what contractor it is. The roads are small. They're basically a driveway. So we have to come up with expectations and come up with a good plan to plow it. They're still willing to work with us. They'll put that proposal together and they'll vote on it. They could deny that and say we're not going to plow you. The consolation to that is we still get the royalties, and then we'd have to go out and contract our own plower. Okay, so one way or the other, we are going to have to create some sort of a budget to add to the roads to take care of plowing. But there's not much more we can do about it until we see a little bit more information. They know we need that information quick because, you know, winter's not that far away. way. So hopefully we have something together within the next 2 weeks that we can present at the next meeting.
Is there a community feeling about how soon the road should, how much snow? We have an early fall snow, a couple inches, is it necessary to plow? 3 inches, where does it start?
They would plow.
Well, don't you think it depends on the type of precipitation also? We had that this winter where they couldn't get up Lakeside Circle.
I mean,
And it wasn't that
terrible stuff
much.
you guys went through.
Yeah, and I mean, in an emergency case, if you have to get an ambulance or someone needs to get up that hill fast and get the help, it's, you know, so I think we have that too, not only the inches.
Again, you know, there would basically be, you know, any plowing contract, the trigger is typically 1 to 4 inches of snow. They'll do the best they can to come in and plow. Plowing private roads throughout the community is, they have to take care of all the other township roads first.
What was the scenario for this past spring when we had that instance where you had to call someone in and?
Well, basically, it was a rough year all the way around.
Yeah.
It was a big challenge for snowfall. It was above the
Or
average.
was that on us ourselves or who
Well,
did
it's
that?
it's who did that. It was, they came and plowed, and, you know, it was just the weather,
Yeah.
basically. And then, you know, calling somebody back to come and sand,
Mhm.
you know, we'll have to figure out how that happens.
Yeah.
You know, I was just able to react to it very quickly, and Jones came and took care of it as fast as you can. We're gonna have scenarios like that that we're gonna have to take care of. There'll be challenges, but, you know, as board members and communities, we're gonna have enough people to be able to, you know, get a hold of a board member, make a call out, call Joneses out, or call somebody out. I'm not quite sure how it's gonna work with the extra. Is the township gonna come out and haul snow away if there's extra work that has to happen? You know, are we gonna have to go to another third party? You know, that still needs to be determined. Well, it's still gonna take some more conversation, and it's gonna have to happen
It's a
fast.
good thing we have a few months left.
Yeah. We can only hope that we don't get another 100-inch year.
Right. This year blew everybody's budget out for snow removal. There was, you know, you can only, like I said, we're gonna have to base the amount on average snowfall, come up with an idea of what we're gonna charge per month to build that budget up, and make sure there's some extra money in there, all right? You know, I don't know if we separate the plowing from the roads, that's something else that we talk about, or it's all one budget, and we work it that way, that's something yet to be decided. What else we got here? Any more questions on the plowing? And where that's at, we're just basically, they would wait for more information. I lost my computer information here, sorry.
Can I just add that their meeting is the same as our meeting, so they'll vote in 2 weeks, so you may or may not know anything.
Right.
Maybe we should send a board member there, miss this meeting, hit theirs.
It's something to talk about.
Or else we can vote today to stagger a meeting, put it on the Wednesday, so that way we get a chance to be at their meeting.
Do you think it would help?
I don't know.
I mean, basically, they're gonna,
It can't hurt. If we've got constituents, multiple constituents in there stating that they want it to continue, they gotta listen to us. As we go into as constituents versus board members.
I don't want to,
Antagonize them?
I do not want to antagonize them, and the work that I've done, I don't want to see go the wrong way based on what, you know, for the work we've done. You sat in the first meeting, you knew which way it was going.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't begging, I wasn't backing
No.
down, but I thought, you know, my point was I still think they need to take care of us because we are part of the township.
Yeah.
So I think our best deal monetarily would come from the township taking care of us.
We certainly agree with that.
So I think we want to see how they respond to it. Brandon's working with us. I think, you know, I got a pretty good idea what he's going to put together. Let's see what he puts together, and we'll see where it goes from there. And if it doesn't go our way, then maybe we go to the meeting and talk to them. I think
Yeah, my
that's
thoughts are to let them discuss it and then,
right.
based on their response, see what we want to do
Right. So
as far as attending.
The other thing I just want to touch base on is the newsletter. Do you know how close is it? We're still waiting for a little information from me. We can sit down and
Yep.
draft some information. But you got the information you wanted from the
I
other
should be
people.
able to get it, my goal would be out to get it out September 1st now. So we
Yeah.
would do it quarterly with a September 1st date.
Okay, that sounds good.
And we'll have the road report probably by Friday.
All right, that's pretty much Rich's update. Are there any other questions? No, good, thank you. Financial update. Let's go with budget from Tina.
I did not print out the budget because I need to add a couple things to it, but I will email it out to the group. Our current balance is $66,384.71. We did receive this month from Chisago County a check for, or a deposit for $9,690.93. That was for assessments from last year for unpaid bills that people didn't pay. We assess those every November. So we did receive that now, the first half of it. And then I did receive a check from Nestle Township for $269.74. So I need a motion to pay that back now because those are for the Midco royalties. I don't know how we want to do that going forward. If we do need to make a motion to accept it, if we...
Well, we never did that in the past, right?
We never did it in the past, but
Well, we asked them for an invoice and we still didn't get the invoice. I think we have to make a motion, let's get online as far as making that payment, right?
yep. So, but in the past, though, I wasn't writing a check back to them, though. That was the difference. So I want to make sure that I have myself covered, that if I'm writing a check to Nestle, that it's been approved by the board.
Okay,
So,
is that part of your bills for this month?
yep,
Okay.
yep. It's not on this list, but that's why I'm adding it in here after the fact, because we're talking about it. So I would need a motion for a payment back to Nestle Township for Midco royalties for $269.74.
I'll make that motion.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Right. And then once I print the approved June minutes, I will also post at the pump house a copy of the budget and expenditures to date. So,
Okay. That would lead us to the investment funds for Dean.
Okay, our value of the investment at the end of June was $203,124.37. And our cash account is at $19,768.14 as of the end of June.
When does that expire again?
27,
27.
2027.
Okay, so there's 3 more years left on that.
Yep. And that's at 2.75%, I think, so. You know, as today's numbers are, it's kind of low, but
Yep.
back when it was taken out, it was pretty good, so.
Very good. Presentation of the bills.
all right. So my first bill is from LJJ Wastewater for their monthly maintenance and service for $1,700. Next is from Rasmussen Services for lawn mowing for $585.19. Then for MVTL, which is Minnesota Valley Testing, we have a total of $313.50. Part of this was because we did our quarterlies, so there was some extra testing, I think, that was done. It's higher than normal. Normally it's like 187, 1 something.
You had to run a second test on the quarterlies because we had high fecal.
That's right. Okay, so I emailed them about that. Yep. And then last month I didn't have the East Central bill, so technically I have both of them. I have them broken out here. June was $157.63, July was $154.98, and keeping in mind those are automatically deducted from our account, so we don't write a check to them, they just automatically are paid every month. And then for Kelly and Lemons, I have an invoice for the conversation with Paul about Dennis Wood for $105. And then Paul had given me a receipt just now before the meeting for striping and road paint. It was for $23.60. So I need a motion to approve that as well with part of this.
Can I get a motion to approve or to pay for.
I'll make the
policy.
motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Abstain.
So for the other bills, any changes or questions?
I don't think so.
Can I call for a motion to approve them?
First.
Okay, who was that? Sorry, Matt
Sorry,
and
yeah.
Paul?
All in favor?
Aye.
Those are approved. Old business, plowing update, I think I gave that. Is there any, now that you had time to think about any questions on that? Okay, look for updates next meeting, for sure. I'm gonna let Dean talk about expansion updates, if he has any other additional information other than I talked about.
Not a whole lot. We have a proposed email to send out. Becky got email addresses and information from everybody else that hasn't been contacted, except for one party, which I dropped off a little letter requesting them to give us their information. For 5 years, Becky says they haven't responded to us at all, so, so I just knocked on their door, no one was there, so I just left it on their door, so. It'd be nice if they could get back to us, but maybe they're just not interested in participating in anything, so.
Do they actually live there?
I've never seen anybody there.
Certified mail return receipt request.
No idea.
People's attention.
I think we might have to look a little bit deeper into something like that. I think we can get, let's talk about what address it is. I might have a home address for them if they do not
Yeah.
live there. And I pulled that off the tax ID stuff, so.
Darby.
Yeah, well, as soon as the meeting's over here, let's look at that, okay, before you leave, make sure you're in line. What else you got?
So basically, we're getting that information. We've got a proposal for a straw vote that Becky wants to get out to everybody, give them an opportunity to get back to us if they could electronically. And I don't think we're quite done getting that ready yet. Rich has been working on that with Becky too, so the wording and trying to get that, to get a straw vote, check on the expansion, to see if the people want to continue going forward with it.
So basically, I think the next steps on that would be is get that information, we'll test the temperature of the expansion group, we'll get together, we'll hold a special meeting internally with the board and the expansion group, and then we will talk about the next steps. One thing that I think we need to look into before we move on to this is we'll have to check where we're at with our legals. That would be where we are with, what the process is going to be and where easements are. I think there were some limitations on some of the easements. Some of them may have been expired. We found some information in the pump house, and there was some stuff that I was concerned about what I read, but I think we'd have to engage with legal again, and I think we'd have to have a conversation on what direction we want to go with legal. So, but before we engage on that, that's why I'd like to test the temperature. I don't want to be spending any money that we don't need to spend. If we get a negative idea from the board or the expansion group, we'll have to talk about what direction we're going to go at that point. So we'll see where that straw vote goes. I'll work with Dean and try to get that information from Matt, and how they can get onto the website, so on and so forth. We'll get that on that letter. Okay. Road repairs. Let's get an update on the road repairs. And before we get started, I really want to thank George and Paul for putting the effort in. And it looks like George really stepped up. Yeah. So they did pass some information on. I got a quick email from George here right before the meeting that Premier is going to provide us with a bid to repair our roads. They've marked the roads. I haven't received that bid yet, but I think it was roughly just a verbal estimate of about 25 grand. There's quite a bit to be repaired. That sounds like pretty much in line. I think we spent close to 20 last year. I personally trust Premier. I think that we need to see the true proposal before we kind of make a motion and move on. So, I don't know how you guys feel, but based on what he was saying and the timing can it wait till next month for the approval, which is only 2 weeks away? Or would we just have to make a motion to accept verbally until we see the bid and then wrap it up with an email vote? Is that something that we could do?
I think you will see a bid now in the mail, or on your email,
Emails,
soon.
right? I know,
And what he was going to do was send you an email bid
okay,
by the plots that we actually mapped out,
right.
so that you knew what you were paying for and where you were paying for it.
Yeah.
And he says everything in that $25,000 number that he gave us was from the square footage of the work.
Right.
And he says, I think we're flexible enough that we can wiggle around some other stuff too.
Yeah.
That
Okay,
number was under our budget
it's under our budget. We have a budget of
also.
20.
roughly 20,
Yeah.
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 We have a budget of roughly 29, isn't that what it is?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, so it's under our budget.
We have another 200 feet up on the top side of the Shorewood Circle on the northeast side from your house down for 200 feet that is not being covered by that bid. So first 100 feet from Lanes to approximately your place is being done, because that's all fractured wood.
Yeah.
And then the 60-foot section, that's being done. And then he's doing some major, well, I won't say major patching, but across the road patching and on the intersection there. And then going over to the north ramp, going out of the park on the north end. Took that from the bottom of the good road, all the way up and around the corner.
So where the last big patch was done.
Yeah.
That includes all of that. And then the patch down on the northeast, the northeast corner of Shore Lake Circle, where there's been patch and patch and patch. He took a full road there in that bid.
Okay, good. Can I ask you a question about going up around that hill from that man hill? We always get that washout coming around there. Did he say anything about, can he expand the road a little bit there to prevent that washout?
What he said he would do, as he coming up the hill, he says, I'll
Widen it?
got the flexibility to make the corner right.
Okay, all right, that sounds good. That's been an issue with gravel coming down, and it feeds right into the top of one of our manholes. So that could be some of the result of some of the gravel and stuff that we have to clean out of the manholes.
He says that's needed, this section needed to be done a long time ago.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, the roads are actually in pretty good shape.
They
For
are.
the most part, except where they're not, and where they're not, they're not, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, there's very few patching. I got one patch in front of me, and there's up in front of Bergman's there, he's going to do across the front of the driveway there.
Yeah.
Good. You know, I appreciate it again. It's just one less thing that I have to deal with. I appreciate you guys stepping up. So I guess
one
we'll,
more thing too.
Sure.
He says that he's doing work in Rush City 2 weeks from now.
right,
And he says, if you guys can get your ducks in order and let me know on this right away. He says, I can come in next week and I'll take up the blacktop, and that'll give it a chance to get it settled down. And then when I'm doing the roads in Rush City, we're going to be here. And we can work in that time frame, so we could have this done in, say, 3 weeks.
yeah, he's really usually pretty good. So it sounds like to me, last year, all the milling that was done with the skidster. When you're starting to take out some roads, and basically what he's saying is he's gonna bring in the big mill machine and mill those sections down, turn it into a class 5. He typically likes that to settle. He gets the 12 to 16 inches on each side of what he's gonna asphalt at that time. So what I think we'll do is I'll wait for that proposal, because I probably want to talk to him about terms a little bit, make sure that's settled on that proposal. He typically likes 50% down, and then we can break it up into 2 months to kind of spread out the whole deal. So I think what I'll do is I'll wait for that. I'll ship it out to everybody, and then maybe we do an e-vote, and then we kind of wrap up, see where we are next meeting in a couple of weeks, if you guys are okay with that.
Another question I would have, Rich, is asking him, are we getting the same rate that Rush City's getting?
What does that matter?
Just to make sure we're getting the best price possible.
Okay. I can ask him a question, but I don't know, is he gonna give me that information?
It may change just due to the proximity of the smaller
Yeah.
patches here.
Is it?
If you're doing a bigger, longer stretch in a road, you're gonna get a cheaper price. So if there's differences, it might be due to that.
Yeah. Well, I just want to make sure we're not paying twice as much as our city is.
Well, I would kind of believe they may have some other kind of deal too, based on the amount of volume that they do. So, I mean, that'd be hard to compare. That's my only point. I don't, your comment, I don't want to blow it right out of the water,
Yeah.
but it would be, taking bids is, every deal is a little bit different. Quite frankly,
We've been using them for, what, is this the third year?
that's exactly where I was
And
going to go.
the last 2 years, his repairs have held up really, really well.
And when we did price check him, he was, the service that we're getting from him, the response, sometimes I think he does a little bit more than what he bids. He wants to continue to take care of us, so I'm really confident that we're using the right contractor at this time.
I think he's a good guy.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we'd have to price check him at this point.
No.
But again, I appreciate the work. It does take work, and it's a good sign that we're going to get them things done before the end of the year. All right, so that's road repairs. Wage study. Who wants to talk about wage study?
I don't know if we're going to talk about it or we're going to table it for our next meeting until later, but we need to set up a budget meeting though, because September, or our new budget will need to be approved.
Before.
Yeah.
So are you saying that based on our budget would really kind of, are we going to try to get this put into play before a new budget or after a budget? Or do we budget some money for it and then we can build off of that?
I think that we need to, first we need to find out what's going to happen with Nestle,
I agree.
because we need to be able to budget to cover if there's going to be plowing expenses.
Right.
If we can't come to an agreement with them and we have to use an outside vendor, that may affect what we need to budget for next year. If we're spending $25,000 on road repair, correct? And our budget is $29,000, we also have to take into consideration that not everyone pays their bill. You know, we just got $9,000 from bills that were due last year. So just because we have $29,000 budgeted does not mean that we actually
Have the funds.
We have $66,000 in our checking account, but we need to, and I need to figure that out better of how to separate out those funds. But I just want to, say that I think that that's something that we should look at for budget for wages, budget for roads, potentially any other increases that we're going to see. I don't know.
So what I'm hearing is then we should probably table this at this particular point in time. And it's something that we need to continue to talk about, but I quite agree. We're just starting to dial this money in. Even with, collecting the assessments, we've had good conversations with Bridget in the last month. That's something else that I didn't even really quite mention. We're really dialing that in. I guess some of the reports were going to our old clerk and the old operator, so we were not getting that information. They were sending it, but it was going nowhere. So Tina did work hard to get connected with the county to get that stuff wrapped up in the last month. So that was something else that we did kind of dial in. So,
But keeping in mind, so our budget, we should have approved by October 1st for 2024. So we have a August meeting in 2 weeks, and then we have our September meeting. So before October 1st, we really need to
have an
have a
annual
budget.
meeting.
Yeah, we should probably just schedule a working meeting.
Okay. Suggestions?
I'm pretty
Well,
open to
between our August meeting and the September meeting then,
Yeah.
2 weeks after August.
Probably makes the most sense.
So next meeting is August 8th. So we're looking at the 22nd then of August?
Let's give people time to look at their schedule.
Okay.
Let's pencil that in, and then we should probably follow up with an email here.
Okay.
All right.
Also for the annual meeting, is there anything else that we need to discuss at that time other than budget? Is there things that we're required to do that we haven't done in the past?
Well, I think
look at the bylaws.
take a quick look at the bylaws, and let's keep in mind that they're out there a little bit, if you understand what I'm saying. They're kind of a boilerplate type scenario. but I think typically on annual meetings, and correct me if I'm wrong, my wife used to work at the township, is it typically time you ask, you know, do we vote on positions, do we bring our positions in line at least, that type of thing, done at an annual meeting?
So send our thoughts or,
Typically, they have their budget meeting the weekend after Thanksgiving, and then the annual meeting was to approve the, oh my gosh,
So I think our bylaws said that we were supposed to have.
to approve the levies and,
Okay,
yeah.
but, so our bylaws state that it was supposed to be October, we were supposed to have a budget
Okay.
approved. And that's something that's we've never done in the past.
Right,
Yeah.
so I think that's the first thing we should do, is
Yeah.
really dial in that budget. And I think that's gonna take a little bit of work in itself. I'm not really that concerned about positions and so on and so forth at this particular time, but if, Paul, take a quick look at the budgets. If you see anything else we should talk about, why don't you bring that up for us?
The other pink elephant is always the elections,
Yeah.
and those are supposed to be done before the end of the year too. But as everybody knows, there's really not a whole lot of buzz in the neighborhood about wanting to take our jobs, so.
Look under your chairs, all you members here, and it's gonna say yes or no. If it says yes, you've been elected.
Yeah, like we used to do in the JCs, if somebody didn't show up for the meeting, they would get a position. So, they got people for the meetings.
Good point. Good point.
it'll work better than the donut site.
Yeah.
All right, so, well, just to follow up and to wrap it up, we'll work on scheduling that annual meeting. Paul will do some updating on the bylaws, and let's keep it dialed in to concentrate on the things that we need to concentrate on, and the main thing is budget. And I think we've gone a long way with the budget, just what we did with it this year, so that was huge. All right, let's move on to the channel update. And Sue.
Well, Matt, what's
Oh, Matt.
next?
Oh, wait, what?
We don't want to skip Matt.
Oh, man, I forgot, man.
I really don't have a whole lot to update about the website. Did you guys have any questions about the website? I added all the current water data from our Sensiphone device. So that's all been updated through May. So you can go to our website under sanitation data and view all the data from that machine. And I added, just to get through there's a lot of numbers there. I stated the max and minimum flow if it was available. I think there's 1 month that the numbers weren't. I think it was April, there wasn't a number available, but you can do the deduction of the math and figure out what the flows were and whatnot.
That's great reading, so.
Yeah,
take a
it's
look at
exciting.
it.
Very exciting. So other than that, there's really no updates for the website.
Okay, so other than the website, we do get, people do reach out to that. I think Matthew and I see it when they do have somebody does submit a question. I typically see that work, and I'll respond as quick as I can. There was kind of an odd one that came across. Somebody said, just please get back to me.
Yeah, Zach, I believe
Yeah.
her name was.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to contact us again. It just said to contact you. I think you replied to them,
What can I do
asking
for
them
that?
what
Yeah.
they would like from us, so.
Yep, so it does work. It works well, so that's why I think that'd be a great place for taking, surveys or what have you. All right, Sue, let's move on to your work. It's starting to get close and
Yes,
it's getting close to being wrapped up.
yes.
It's not wrapped up, but where it needs to be.
Well, as you know that we have had many steps in the channel process. First of all, I'd like to introduce Craig Wills from the DNR, Minnesota DNR, and Jim Ertz representing Dennis Franson in this project, thank you. Back in July, I had sent out an email, and we had also discussed that Dennis Franson was anxious to get the permits and the deed transferred to Shorewood Park Sanitary District. And I had touched base with Craig a while back, and we needed an entity. So the permit process has started. Jim is here tonight to give us the deed, which in July we voted on. and made the motion to accept the channel deed from Dennis to Shorewood. Is that correct, Jim?
Yep, well, I said, we made it out to who you, let's see here.
I think I gave you the correct, or real name,
Well, we
Shorewood
have
Park
to make sure we
Cemetery.
have the name correct. This is the permit. So it's to the Shorewood Park Sanitary District. That's the official name that's recorded, corporate name, and you're a public entity. So, it says, Shorewood Park Sanitary District, a public corporation. So that's who the deed's made out to.
Okay.
And then there's a survey attached to this deed because the survey was done. So, you know, it's kind of hard to figure out a legal description that is, for anybody that's done legal descriptions. That's a whole page long on that. So attached to that is the actual certificate of survey.
Perfect.
So we would give that to Shorewood Park, to you at Shorewood Park, and then you have a couple options. The option to record this, you can record it, you don't have to record it. A deed is good once it's made and accepted. Recording only keeps track of things. We get a little bit nervous about recording this, and I don't say we, that's more me. I get a little bit more nervous about it because there never was a parcel for this land under the channels. It was always assumed from back in 1960 or 61 or 59 when this was done, that just automatically went to the state of Minnesota or whoever, it became part of the lake. So there was that automatic assumption. So recording it could, now the survey is there, that should straighten things out because they surveyed in between the plat surveys, the plats and the lot surveys, the land in between. But it's really hard to understand that. And so could it raise questions with people's legal descriptions? Possibly. Possibly it could. But then again, like I say, you don't have to record it. We're doing this to make the DNR happy, that they're going to do the permit to whoever owns this underlying property. So you don't have to record it, but the deed will be given to you. And that should make the DNR and the state of Minnesota happy.
Right.
Recording it, I'm going to leave it up to you as an option, and maybe you get a legal opinion on whether you should do it or not. But remember, you don't, deeds and land transfers, by the giving of the deed or the acceptance of the deed, recording is only a means of keeping track of things as time goes on. So usually the sale of property happens many, many times. Well, this has never happened, so it's going to you, and then and it probably never will go anyplace other than to you. So.
All right.
Isn't there a possibility that could be just turned over to a corporation for the Shorewood Park channel residences?
Well,
Yes, that's a future.
Well, it's going to this is going to the Shorewood Park Sanitary District. Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
But if there's ever some other entity created, we could pass that on.
Yes.
We will be able to pass that on.
Yes.
That's.
If there's an entity.
Yeah, if there's an entity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now,
and it's just a
the
small.
question that you always have to answer is the DNR, because the original permit, of course, was issued to Dennis.
Yes.
So you have, these kind of things have to go hand in hand, that the DNR has to agree that, okay, if this land transfers to the Shorewood Park Sanitary District, that they will issue you a permit. Or, I mean, they could certainly issue it to Dennis today, because he is still alive. And he's 89.
We wouldn't issue it to Dennis. That's why, so in this case, there's a couple things. One is if I can go on the county website, click on that parcel, and it says you guys, I just put that in the file. If I don't have that, can you give me a copy of that deed? I put that in the file and it's memorialized. I'm not gonna check further than that.
Okay, all right. Because right now, if you go on the website, you wouldn't be able to see that. You need that piece of paper.
Right.
Okay. Perfect.
So anyway, this is the actual deed, but this is the original.
Okay,
And then if you want to make copies, you can certainly make copies of that,
Mhm.
or we
And
can
then-
give the copies to the,
Yeah, if you have it online, you have PDFs or whatever, and then,
Well, it's a little hard to read.
oh, that's okay. Do you accept copies, Craig?
Yeah,
You
you
need that,
can just
okay.
scan and send it. to me.
Okay, we'll do that.
so I need to sign this as, the
No, you don't
chair?
have to sign it. I don't.
Don't have to sign
You
anything?
don't sign anything.
Okay.
When property transfers, the seller, or the giver
Oh.
of the deed is the only person that has to.
Okay.
Okay,
You just have to accept it, which you did in a motion,
yep,
Mhm.
so that's the acceptance.
Okay,
This
then
is
we'll
actually
just
a copy.
safety deposit box that.
Yeah.
yep.
Copy of the deed.
Well, they should give it to me.
Well, I would like to thank Dennis Franklin for doing that.
Yes,
Very kind of him.
yes.
Yeah.
Dennis
Neighborhood
has
will be
been-
stronger
I
for
want
that.
that.
Dennis has been very cooperative and generous in dealing with all of this for us.
And that's all, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all,
Yeah, no,
officially.
I saw that.
Okay.
Yep.
You will be having.
I try not to look too hard at every little detail, and you're benefiting from that.
And then that is what you need on that?
So this satisfies that it would be Shorewood Parks.
Yes.
You don't have to get consent from all the
Yes,
landowners.
yes.
Because it's you guys. The next step is a legal entity, and that would be Shorewood Park. So
Yes.
then we're like this close to a complete
Okay.
application. And I thought that's why I was here today to discuss, and I had some.
Yes, yes.
If that-
Thank you very much, Tim. You've been very, very helpful in all of this. We wouldn't have gotten as quickly and as much help without you, and I want to thank you personally.
Well, it's a 2 or 3 way street. You got
Yeah.
the DNR, you guys, or the Shorewood Park people and Dennis. So that's something that probably should have been done 25 years ago, years ago. But you know how.
This stuff happens with how they did stuff in the 60s.
Yeah, yeah.
All the time.
But you have left things in really good shape for the future, so.
Oh, right.
it's deeply appreciated.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that, maybe the channel might get into a more scheduled dredging project.
Yes.
Dredging project maybe every 10 or 15 years or something like that, so it doesn't
Yeah,
have to.
the whole purpose, the beginning of this was to get our channel healthy.
Right.
Both of our channels, so we're seeing the light.
Yeah.
Okay, and Craig,
Couple
if
things
you'd
that
like
are
to,
gonna
yes,
push you guys.
thank you.
And these are not get out of jail free cards.
Thank you.
Aren't the most, I can hand that out. So I don't usually argue, I bring stuff so we don't have to argue. This is an example permit to somebody that or an amendment to it. They had an existing excavation permit for a harbor. They wanted to do maintenance dredging, just like you guys did. And so we issued a permit. I took out a bunch of private information, but as Sue and I have talked about, the standard would be for me to issue a permit to a legal entity, a competent legal entity. And Shorewood Park would be that. If you, just like with all your other contracts, you're not signing a contract as individuals or a bunch of landlords, you're going through Shorewood Park. But I highlighted some of the conditions in there that are applicable and helps justify it to a legal competent entity. First one's easy. If you look on the second page, first one went away because you're now the owner. You don't need written consent from everybody. Second one is the permit's permissive, so the state takes on no liability. I'm not going to issue a permit to somebody or an entity that is not competent. The next one is the permittee needs to ensure the contractor has received and understands the condition of the permit. Gone are the days of you hire somebody to do something, they go do whatever, you get in trouble, and the contractor said, well, the landlord didn't tell me, and the landlord said, you would take on that entity, or you would take on that responsibility. And then the next page has the highlighted maintenance of this project to the originally authorized conditions may be amended, so it's easier for you to get maintenance. I did some more digging, Sue, and I believe we have maintenance conditions in multiple permits that would cover everything. So we still have 2 permits, one for each channel. I found a 1977 permit after I did some more digging. But So it should be pretty clean.
Okay.
But the whole point I thought was, if you had questions for me, why I needed to issue this to a Shorewood Park, because there's no other entity that I'm aware of, county's not, the association can't. Any
So-
questions for me?
Well, I have, what do we need to do for you to, is there anything hanging this,
For the file, and I had something from a previous meeting where it talked about, in a roundabout way, Shorewood Park taking on the responsibility.
of the,
Having a motion saying, yes, we will be the permittee, we are the landowners, that would be good enough, and I'd like that in the file for writing.
okay, can we do that tonight in our meeting
Yeah.
minutes?
Yeah, as long as I get a copy,
Okay,
but that would make it a lot easier.
all right.
And for example, that way it's much easier for me to, and cleaner than if I get calls from two unhappy landowners.
Yes,
And that's
yes.
where I'm trying to help protect you guys as well.
These minutes, though, tonight won't be approved until our next meeting, keeping that in mind in 2 weeks. Is that going to be acceptable?
Based on the timing that we're, yeah, we can move forward. The next thing is you need to have an MPARS account, and some of this may not make sense, but Sue knows this. So you're in MPARS, we need to make Shorewood Park a party, and then identify who the contact agent or representative is. And Sue, you're already on this, so it'd be pretty easy to associate you, or however the board wants to do it. But everything's electronic, so I need Shorewood Park to be a party, and I can help you with that. Sue.
Okay, good. Because that isn't my expertise.
Well,
Or in the future, because, I'm not sure if I'll have the longevity that Dennis
that way
has.
you would be the contact or the agent, and that can switch.
The agent can be Shorewood Park.
No.
The
Shorewood
board?
Park would be the permittee, and that's what they would be called
Okay,
in the parties. They would be a permittee, and then
contact.
whoever contact agent. So if Sue takes another job and somebody else does it, you just call me and we that's
Oh,
the
okay.
next person up. So
Okay.
the person is not the permittee, it's Shorewood Park.
Okay,
That makes
okay.
sense?
I'm just the contact.
Mr. Wilson, did you say that we needed some sort of motion or anything, something
Yeah.
in the minutes for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Give me a
The
rough...
verbiage?
Yeah, give me rough verbiage on what we need to say for our minutes.
Shorewood Park has chosen to be the permittee for the Shorewood Park excavation projects and to accept the transfer for the previous Franson permits.
So transfer. You written stuff down too?
And I don't say Franson, because one of them was 1977 to John Mahoney or something. You say
Yeah.
all permits associated with Shorewood Park, you would be willing to have transferred to Shorewood Park. That's all we're doing.
Okay. Okay,
So you got it figured out for the motion or not?
Except transfer of all permits associated with Shorewood Park. That's a separate thing. I already have a copy of that, so I don't need, this is the proof enough.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to have Shorewood Park be the entity,
Shorewood Park Sanitary.
sanitary district, except to be the entity for the permits associated with the channels transferred,
Previous owner's permits.
and to accept the transfer of the deed for ownership of the channels.
Except the, okay.
What?
So I have Shorewood Park has accepted to be the entity chosen to accept the transfer for all permits.
Yeah.
Associated with the channels.
Associated
With the channels.
Okay.
I'm no attorney.
Neither are we.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Tina, you may want to say DNR permits.
I would say, yeah, you probably want to
Yeah.
put DNR permits.
Okay.
How about, do we want to say DNR channel maintenance permits maybe?
Well, does
I'm
it
just
have
saying all permits.
Permits,
associated with
okay.
channels,
all
yeah.
DNR channel
So
permits?
Sue has made that motion. I need a second.
Got it?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right,
And that motion carries.
all right. So we're
Thank
good?
you.
Okay.
Did you have any questions or want to talk more about next steps or?
Yes. means you're here, so now that you have,
Those things help. Where we kind of had left it before, I haven't heard from the contractor, is we have an understanding they're doing the hydraulic, whatever.
yeah, I thought I sent you his plan. Forwarded it to you from Tony Smiles, basically.
What I recall, Sue, last that it wasn't descriptive, that's why I had asked.
Oh,
Was this
okay.
after we talked? When we met?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, I can check, and I.
Yeah, would you, and I'll check also.
Yeah,
I recall Sue said, you said it was acceptable when we received it from Tony.
okay, I will check.
Yeah, and then please, let me know what you find out or what you need.
Yeah.
So if
So the next step is to get whatever is gonna happen, and then we're pretty much there. And by rule, I have to send it out for review and comment. Fisheries, wildlife,
Yes.
Soil and Water Conservation District, County Environmental Services, they get to look at your application. That's why I'm trying to help you have the best one you can.
Yes.
So that they don't stall or ask questions
Oh,
or
yes.
whatever.
We
And the way I
appreciate that.
understand it, no EAW is needed, based on my just reading stuff. And so we get it finalized, I update the 2 permits, or how do I say this? We go to amend the existing permits to transfer 1 into your name and 2 to okay maintenance and prevention. Then I send it out for, so there's a lot of this. Sort of-
And I appreciate that so much, you have
You
no
should.
idea. Don't worry.
This, I got less hair up here.
Oh, hey, mine was your color when I started.
But then, so we're this close.
Literally is
Good.
later.
I'm gonna send this to you right now, take a quick gander at it.
This is my personal, so I won't see it.
Oh, okay.
And did we need
On
to
your
do
phone.
that public waters work permit?
That's what this all is, that's what I'm, yeah.
You're handling this?
So at this point, it's me getting everything kind of ready for you,
Okay.
packaging it up and doing.
So this form, we do not need to touch?
No, that was just in case you wanted to know why.
Oh,
we have,
okay, okay,
you know,
oh, good.
And it had the conditional language, because we'll modernize those.
Okay. All right, anything else needed on our end? Anybody have any questions? I'd like to thank Carrie and Tim also. They've been right there, along this journey from the beginning, and, 3 heads are better than 1 all the time, and Tim for going to DNR with me, so.
And this should clean stuff up for you guys going forward, so
Oh.
that's what we're trying.
Do we still need to contact the Shepherd County water person? I think that must be Fred. So if somebody.
So before you were looking at putting the spoils, I believe, on the berm,
Correct.
and you would need a wetland permit to do that. My understanding is that's not the case. You're gonna put it in the yard, so, or that's the plan. I still don't know how that's gonna work, but.
Our plan is going to a private.
No, when it's dredged. Not after
on
it's dredged
our-
and dry, when it's dredged.
Yeah, so it gets stuck. So my understanding is, you don't need a wetlands permit.
But
You should check with them, and I thought I said.
Yeah, you gave me her name, and I'm going.
Grading, yeah,
Yes,
grading and
mhm.
fill, and then,
that's
you could play dumb, but you should check with the Army Corps of Engineers too, and that should be pretty easy. If you need a contact for that, so.
Yeah, why don't, yeah.
Other than
And
that,
what do I have
I
to-
play dumb, and I don't know who else you need to.
Okay.
contact.
What would the Army Corps of Engineers
They
need?
regulate excavation.
But
They've
this
got like a
isn't-
general, it won't be a,
Okay,
Get-
what is excavation? Is that mechanical or is that excavation removal?
it would be the
mean
same whether
removal?
you're sucking it out with a
Oh,
vacuum
okay.
or, so if you're making a hole, we'll call that excavation.
But we're not actually making a hole, we're sucking muck out.
Still excavation.
Okay, I just,
Yeah.
I'm from Iowa, that
The
shows
fancy
me
way is
wherever that is.
you're altering the cross
Missouri.
section of the channel, but we just call it excavation.
Okay,
All right.
okay, well.
Are we good? You feel good?
Yes, I feel great.
All right.
Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Thank you.
All right.
You'll be invited to the hot dog roast.
Is there beer? No, I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks. And every corner of Shorewood. All right, so let's move on. Let's
Yes.
try to wrap this up a little bit. We still got a few more things. Is there any more questions on the channel stuff?
Oh,
All right, so we're gonna move on to new business. New business, I got contacted by Tim Corby, who was contacted by Pete Stauber and his associates, and they would like to do a visit of the Shorewood Park Sanitary District. And I'm not quite sure what all about that visit is, and I guess he just wants to do a tour if it's a promotional thing, and
Tour of what?
basically he wants to,
The expansion there.
Oh, okay.
expansion and talk about, I don't know if it's a marketing thing for him but they'd just like to come up here and let people know that, he has a grant available for us to use. Even if we have not accepted it yet, they still want to come up, and it's there and available for us. So he wants to do that on August 9th at 4 o'clock. I'm letting Mr. Corby handle that with the details. I'm going to let Dean and Becky handle some more of the details. I'm going to pass that off to you two. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be home from work that night. That's the night of our meeting, I believe, August 9th. Is that a Tuesday or is that a Wednesday?
August 8th.
August 8th is
It's
our...
a Wednesday night, is when.
So it's the Wednesday after our meeting. I'll do my best to be here, and we'll talk about that a little bit. But they do want to meet in front of the sign. That kind of brings up another issue as far as the sign goes. I'm going to ask Paul to ask the owner of the sign and the property around that to get that cleaned up before that meeting. And I'll let you bring that up to him. All right?
yeah.
Because this is part of his legacy regardless.
I was talking to him about that today, but yeah.
Okay, and if you have an issue with it, let me know, because otherwise I'm going to march up there and take care of it myself.
I told him I was going to.
Okay, because it's...
Because, it needs a little touch up.
Right. All right, so let's drive that. So that brings
Yeah.
us into the monument sign and the issue we have with that right now. So we were informed by Dennis via text before the meeting last week that he does not want anybody, we've been just had volunteers taking care of around the sign. I'm not going to be around the bush at all. We cleaned up the sign. We've been mowing the yard along his property and keeping that neat and clean like we always have in the past. But he would like us to hire somebody to do that because he informed us that he owns that sign and that property, and he doesn't want the responsibility or liabilities if somebody got hurt on that. That was the first swing. We said, fine, we'll stop mowing it. So that's what we did at this particular point in time. Now he's followed up and I said, please put something in writing, what your expectations are, what your plans are with that sign so we can discuss that. And he kicked off another email today and he's kind of put something together for us to noodle on. He sent this over to Dean. I think I forwarded it all, but I'll read it to everybody. Dean, first of all, we'd like to thank you and the other board members for wanting to resolve this matter as quickly as possible. And he's talking about the monument sign. There has been a lot of discussion with the current owners and the community in general to suggest an equitable solution. To do this, the owners are offering a long-term lease effective immediately at the rate of $1,000 per year. They will also offer the district the right to purchase a small area of land around the sign for needed maintenance, provided all parties agree on these terms. As you know, these things can take time. Again, we thank you for wanting to preserve the aesthetics of Shorewood Park and to bring this matter to a close. Please note that if the board members can offer a better solution, present it within 45 days to consider. If the parties cannot come to, so he's basically saying we can kind of come up with another solution and provide it to them, okay? If the parties cannot come to an agreement in 45 days of this proposal, it will become void. So that's his first attempt coming up with the solution of what we should do with the sign.
Where does the sign sit in relation to Shorewood Park
Property?
property?
It's entirely within, it's not on, any of it is on our property.
That was
The sign is
Catherine
not-
Anderson's.
That's, signs on Dennis's property.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anderson's could put it there, and
Right.
when,
Well, I know.
Dennis bought it,
I
then-
put it there with all the friends and property.
Okay.
How far between that sign and the road?
Less than 5 feet.
5 feet from the sign?
Basically, from the road, going in before the property starts is about 5 feet.
Okay, so we got a 5-foot strip along the edge of the road.
Right.
So when that sign was put in, was it when Shorewood Park was developed?
Yes.
And would Dennis?
Yeah.
It's been there ever
have
since
that
I've been here, it's been
information?
at least 50 years.
And would he have put that sign on property he didn't own?
He owned it.
He owned it.
And
Did he sell that to somebody?
He sold it to Anderson.
Didn't Catherine Anderson own that one?
Yep.
Right,
Maybe so with Kathy Anderson.
right.
Is there such a thing as squatters' rights or
Well,
something like that?
there is, so, and it could possibly be, you know, because it's been uncontested for over 15 years, so.
What's the term for it? It's called adverse possession. I
Adverse
think.
possession.
Right.
Adverse possession at the sign, so I mean, there could be a big battle that you could actually own that property and own that around that sign. Shorewood Park Sanitary District.
because we've been maintaining.
Because it's been, yeah, and uncontestedly maintaining it. In fact, Dennis could hardly say that he contested it, because I think he helped maintain it for the Shorewood Park. So, you know, it would be a struggle for him to win that case. But then on the other hand, you go to these cases and you don't know. I mean, you just don't know what it goes in front of the judge, and, you know, it ends up costing you thousands of dollars each side, because you have to hire attorneys and to do an adverse possession of that property. And by the time you get done with the attorneys and the surveys and everything else, you're better off to work out a deal. Because both sides could probably spend $5,000 to $10,000 on attorney fees.
Could he deed that property to Shorewood in
Maybe.
exchange for the rental of the land that he was collecting rent on for the past so many years?
And never compensated?
And never shared any of that profit with the homeowners?
I think, again, we're talking lawyers, we're talking all kinds of stuff. I don't know what to do, quite frankly.
I'm not sure he could deed you that property, because, you know, today in Chisago County, their minimum transfers is 20 acres unplatted, and that property is not platted. So could he pull a 1 acre parcel out of his land and then deed it to you? Maybe and maybe not. You know, that would be an entity, you'd have to go to the zoning department in the county and see what they'd have to say. I mean, you're going to create a parcel that's unbuildable and unusable for anything but the sign. Will they allow that? Is there an allowance for that in the zoning rules and regulations in the county? Maybe, maybe not. Then if you had to plat it, I mean, well, to plat that out, I mean, that's really not economically feasible.
Or
Unless
do
the
we
whole
just say
thing-
we're not interested?
Tell him
It's
to
his
take the
property.
sign. We know where we live. Take the damn sign. I'm so tired of him screwing over people in Shorewood and trying to get everything out of us that he possibly can. When that was Anderson's, the Shorewood, this board, not this board, but charged to keep that piece of property mowed. Who's been paying for that now? We've had kids volunteering to do it for free.
You're right, you're exactly right.
I'm so tired of him. I wish he would just move.
When that property was owned by Catherine Anderson, we were paying Rasmussen to mow it, and then we were reimbursing Kathy for that.
She reimbursed Shorewood.
As a member of Sherwood.
Yeah.
And so,
Tried to turn
you know, and now it's not being mowed, so it's going to be an eyesore. And
So who owns the land on the other side of the road going into Shorewood? On the
Joel
south?
Freeberg.
And Joel Freeberg owns
The
that.
guy that lives in the house that's got
Yep.
a light fence up,
Yep.
where Jack Paulson used to live.
Yeah.
So maybe you go into him and make a deal and you just build a new sign.
Well, I think that would be something in the future to talk about if we wanted to do that. But again, I think I personally don't want to make that decision. I would like to understand what other people in the community would like to give us some input on it. You know, we got 45 days to make a decision. It's out there already. People have already been talking about it. But again, I think that, you know, we'll post it up on the board. We'll post this up there so everybody can see what his first proposal is. And then maybe we just ask people to submit something on the website and let us know what their opinion is. I think that'd be the best and most controlled way to get an opinion on it. And then we can decide which way to go from there. I have my opinion, and it's pretty much in line with my wife's. I know where I live. He can do what he wants with that sign. But I'd like to hear what other people say, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So if people are listening, we'll post it here. Go ahead and submit whatever your comment is on the website. We'll go from there. We'll just take a tally on it.
But I think that homeowners need to understand, the residents who aren't aware of this need to understand the fact that it was being taken care of. He's owned it. It was, like Kelly said, it was kids that were going and volunteering their time. My husband, whoever was going down, mowing it, weed whipping it, maintaining it. And he doesn't want anybody down there for the risk of getting hurt and wanted us to pay for mowing.
Right. Well, I would hope that he would at least keep it maintained while he's still around.
Yeah, it's not looking like.
I know, I understand it's not happening, but I think if I send him another note and remind him, because he verbally told me that he has been taking care of it and has always taken care of it, but we can see once we stop taking care of it, that it hasn't been taken care of. So hopefully he's a good neighbor and a good steward to our community, and he continues to take care of that sign, and we will honor his suggestions to stay off that sign, because that's what he's asked us to do, and he legally owns that sign. And we'll post this information, and people can put their comments on the website or address Danny at their own leisure. At this point, I think we, you know,
Put that out there.
I'd like to see what other people think before we come back with a counter.
Hasn't that sign been taken care of voluntarily by the park people, somebody?
That's what,
for all
yeah,
the years?
Exactly,
I
George.
don't
That's-
think it was Dennis.
What we're saying is, we probably have a good argument for a term called, basically, he said, adverse possession. But it would cost us money. Do we want to explore that? I'm not going to make that decision. If people want to explore that and put a budget together for
Dennis
it.
Wood has cost the district enough money.
Right.
Yeah, what
He
does he
just
have
last
against
month
it?
said, we're gonna pay him this $500 and hopefully be done with it. Well, here we are again, now he's asking for another $1,000 a year for renting it or whatever, so.
And I think all the residents need to see that letter so they know what's going on. And we don't have to go by his 45 days. He's not the one driving the bus here. We can tell him.
This is, well,
How-
exactly, this is
how long
not
we
a
wanna go.
legal document whatsoever.
Well, I know, but it'll still give people an idea of what's
Right.
going on.
Nice.
I'm tired of like protecting him. The residents need to know what's going on. No, they don't come to this meeting. No, they don't read the website. They need to know what's going on. Tired
Is there
of
a
trying to
note?
cover up for him.
Mentioned when it said purchase the land.
No, that's just, he just said that that's a,
Basically rented.
that's an option. He basically, the only money,
Lease or purchase.
he wants us to lease, he wants us to pay him $1,000 a year for our sign on his property.
You know,
Well, it's not our sign then, it's his sign.
Yeah,
That's
I-
his property.
Well, he just wants us to lease it because it says Shorewood Park.
What if we just let him take care of it?
That's,
Yeah.
it's
That's
your
basically
thing.
it, we're just
Yeah.
walking away, it's your sign, do what you want.
you know, and if it ever gets to the point, my thought that it isn't even able to be seen,
So be it.
so be it. If like the $1,000 a year, take that, what we would have paid and doesn't have to be a big brick sign.
No.
I was gonna say, for probably I, as a part of my job, I helped create a monument sign recently, and for about, I'd say, $10,000, we could create a sign just as big as the sign that is there now, that's not lit. That would be the truck price of a 10-year lease of him charging us, and we would own it, and we could place it somewhere else, perhaps further in, perhaps on the other side of the road, on Lakeside, or
So there are options in the future that we can look at.
Yeah, I am definitely a proponent of not leasing anything.
I mean, there'd be options to talk about, and if we wanted to put a sign up and we'd have to purchase some other land, I think there's some neighbors around here that we could probably work with. But I am not subject to dealing with the wood property anymore either, whatsoever.
Here's a thought. You guys are a public entity, so he could donate that sign and land to you and get a tax write-off.
Well,
He won't do anything
You
that
have
helps
to
her.
put a value on it.
Well, there would be a value
Something.
because he's getting a tax write-off.
right.
Well, yeah, you could put a value on it, because you can say, well, it costs $10,000 to build a new one, so you get $10,000 for the sign and so much for the land, and he could donate it and probably come out way farther ahead. Bring that up, because you're a public entity. You can't donate to your neighbor, but you can donate to a public entity.
That is a good,
Can you
Yeah.
donate a little parcel of land?
Right, right. Or donate, whether you can transfer it or lease it, or you can donate a lease, a 100-year lease, and put a value on that lease, and he could probably come out really well. If he's, I'm assuming.
I'm sure
he's got
he'd be
some
all about
income.
that.
That's a thought.
okay.
Maybe that's the angle.
That's the angle. I'll let our tightest connection to Mr. Wood propose that to him and see what he comes up with, because he's looking for a response, but regardless.
That's not appropriate for Paul, though, to be addressing that, in my opinion, because that's a conflict of interest as a board member.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't feel that that's
And
appropriate.
it should come from
The board, yeah. The
Yeah.
response should come from the board.
There's a huge conflict of interest here.
There is no blood between us, I keep repeating
I know that, but Paul.
But we
you
know
also-
there is a
there's
relationship,
clearly-
and
Yeah.
nothing against you. I mean, personally, I feel like he tries to control you a little bit. That's my opinion.
Oh, we have spirited disagreements all the time.
Okay, I
Well, there you go.
That's neither here nor there.
Yeah, I'll have that. Let's just, that's a great suggestion. I like
I
that.
think it needs to come from the board, a letter
Yes.
from the board.
Right,
Yeah.
let's,
And throw 3-4 different ideas out there.
Yeah.
Jim's idea is fantastic.
Yeah.
That
Or
we could
he
explore
could-
that.
Or if
Attend a
you could
meeting.
set up verbiage of how to address that, could you and just mail me or Rich or,
He could probably come out really well.
Let
Yeah.
Denny figure it out.
Yeah.
He can get an attorney if he's gonna make notes, but let them figure it out.
I would agree. I think that's on
It
him.
shouldn't cost us anything.
Again,
We'll
let's,
probably get a bill for it.
Of course we will.
let's just
Yeah,
post
thank
it,
you.
let's post it and ask for some suggestions. And let's just continue the conversation.
Post-
thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
You'll get the in-party
Thanks,
invite.
Thanks.
All right, good luck with Dennis.
Take donuts if you want.
One more item on here, let's just,
I get to follow up.
yeah, follow up
So,
with that. with
we want to
the
talk about
update.
lawn care. So this whole monument sign thing brought up the conversation of who's taking care of our lawn and what's the liability if somebody gets hurt, and with 20 people cutting the parks, or 25 or 30 or however many people are taking their slice and mowing our parks on their honor, which we really appreciate. And but this brought up a really good point that if somebody gets hurt, if they so choose, they could come after the Shorewood Sanitation District. And so I went to Rasmussen again. I got an updated quote, and it's pretty close to what it was last year. And I go over the numbers with that. So what I would propose is that we mow twice a month. I mow my lawns every other week, and I think that's a good pace to be at. There was a quote for one of the sections of our area with trimming and without trimming. So I would say that we would just trim once. It's just the park area, it's the open park area. I don't think it needs to be, in my view, it doesn't really need to be trimmed more than once a month. So I just, one month with no trim, 1 month with trim. So the numbers are, for the easterly park, which is the larger park, for twice a month would be $465. The entrance area where the sign is would be $80 a month. The sorry, let me just bring this up just to be exact. The mow and trim of the small park on the very end down by,
Lakeview?
no, down by the Anderson Point area. That just small little area would be $25 per time, so $50 a month. And then the small park down below would be $150 a month. So that all added up for, per month would be $745 a month. And divided by 100 homes would be $7.45 a month. And I calculated for 7 months, and I know we usually have snow all the way through April, but let's say we get a hot March like we did, 10 years ago. I calculated for 7 months at $7.45 per month would be $52.15 if we mowed 7 full months out of the year. And
What you're saying is it'd be $52, is it $7 per home for 12 months? So basically, we would have to add a budget of $7 more a month collected to cover our mowing?
Yes, per home, $7.45, correct.
Per month.
Per month.
I would say 8 because gas is an
I'd
issue.
say 10 because nothing's going to be cheaper.
Okay, so basically, we need a $10 budget for mowing added to our existing costs. We're talking about adding a new budget approximately, based on my calculations for plowing, close to $5 a month more for plowing, and that's subject to whatever's gonna go on. That could go up anywhere between $5 and $10. We would have to create a park board budget of $10, so we'd be raising fees right now, basically another $20 per month for all our homeowners, based on a conversation. And I think, it's something that I guess we're gonna have to talk about at the budget.
And that's
So,
before
can
we
I
start
just
talking
clarify,
about-
Matthew, when you said
Yes.
$7 per home, was that during the 7-month mowing time, or that was the annual?
That was over the
Because like
year.
later you said $50. Is that
That would be
annual?
Yes, so it's
So then that's
$7.45 per month, and then for 7 months for the mowing season
Right,
would be $52.15
for the
for
year.
a full 7 months for the entire year.
For
But the
year.
mowing
So you're
season,
talking under $5 a month for the mowing action?
If you paid monthly
Correct.
for 12
If
months.
we're going to increase fees, $5 a month to cover the mowing.
right, it'd be roughly
Right.
$4 a month.
Yes, so not 10, but 5.
And Matthew, didn't you include the property from up by the sign?
Yes,
And would that be all the way down along that road?
all the way down the road, correct.
So we could deduct that $80 off of it if we decided to. Again,
The reason that I've kind of initiated this again is we're always talking, when I talk to my neighbors about this, they stress the point that having these parks mowed increases our property value. And whether or not you agree with that or not, the reason I bring this to the board and bring this to our neighborhood is if we want to be equitable about the lawn care of our neighborhood, and we're all invested in the property values of our lawn care, this would level the playing field. And for $4 a month, it's less than a latte at Starbucks to have our lawns taken care of. And that's kind of just my view of it.
Have they not been being taken care of? I've always looked mowed to me.
They have, and it's on,
No,
our
I know
neighbors
the
on
resident- yeah, I
that
know
they're
the
gonna do.
residents do it,
And
yeah.
some people do several swaths of
Yeah.
quote sections, and it's not really divvied up, but people just kind of go with it as they will, and sometimes it doesn't get mowed.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever gets trimmed. I don't think it's ever been trimmed, so that would be another $65 that we could just take out per month if we didn't trim the park, and I don't think the park personally needs to be trimmed.
I will trim it.
So what's
So-
really driving this is reliability more so than who's doing what and.
Yeah, because there's a lot of guilt that's thrown around in the neighborhood about who's mowing, quote, their section, when nobody really owns the park. And I hear a lot about, whose section is being mowed and whose section isn't being mowed, and I find it to be quite unfair, and I find it to be just kind of disqualified, because nobody owns the park. It's the sanitation district that owns the park, so the sanitation district should take care of the park. And that's my personal point of view.
copy on to the budget meeting to discuss that
Yeah.
potentially.
Sure.
Quick question though for you. Could we have Rasmussen come in and mow the area around the sign between now and,
No.
no?
No.
Why should we pay for that? It's not our land, we shouldn't pay for it.
Jenny said he would pay for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. So we
got
have money.
a Sauber visit, and if you want it to look nice, then,
Then he should go up there and mow it. I could care less.
okay.
I don't think he's gonna, that's not his focus coming out here to begin with, is
The sign.
see what our entrance looks like. When he comes in, he's gonna see Shorewood, okay, yeah, and the expansion, and I don't think that's
Yeah,
even
but
gonna affect him.
Out of respect for your neighbors, though.
Yes.
He should have an
Yes, we all
obligation to
think
feel
that.
like, gosh, we
Yeah.
want our homes to look nice. When people drive in and they see this big Shorewood sign, because when I tell people where I live, I'm like, oh, there's a big, cement
Monument.
Shorewood sign there, you turn there. You would think that he would want to have his neighborhood looking nice and well taken care of, but it's his land, so.
So as far as the lawn care goes, we'll bring that up in the budget meeting. Sounds good. I appreciate you doing the work on it.
Yeah.
No problem.
There's some other things that, that may be a place to move snow. One of the things that they did bring up in plowing, that was, they have nowhere to put snow, and they were always told that they can't put snow in those parks, but that's not true because we own that land.
They absolutely should.
Right.
Instead of putting it on
Right.
people's property and people getting all upset about snow being on, and, blocking them in and their mailboxes, et cetera, they should push that snow into the parks.
So that was
100%.
part of some of the conversations.
And they should plow 4 or 5 feet into the park and extend the road even, because you know how the road shrinks.
There's a lot of work with the plowing stuff, so
Yeah.
we could sit here and talk about it all night, so.
Sure.
I think we'll try to get more people involved in those conversations, because I don't want to carry that on my back either.
No.
It's really a wrong point at this point. So with that being said, is there any other things that we need to touch base on?
I need a motion to purchase 2 small coats to separate out the equipment, the audio and video equipment,
Okay,
just to make it more manageable for the ladies here
okay.
when they need to move things around. So I would assume that it would be under $30 for 2. I mean, that's very, very generous. I just
I
sometimes.
make a motion to spend up to $50 to get a couple phones.
I second it.
Yep.
Aye.
I,
Motion carries.
thank you.
I don't know if I addressed this before, but in the minutes, we have talked about putting sediment into the lower park. And you had asked for
Plan.
a plan. The plan is we will not do it.
Okay,
The contractor said that it would be a mess
okay.
because it's lower and it would sit there, so we.
Move away from that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that update.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Hey, hey,
I,
Whoa,
what? Any new business?
Hold on.
Wait.
Oh,
Sorry.
we were just talking about National Night Out,
Oh.
Yes.
which is Tuesday, August 1st. And I know, Sue, you had mentioned
Yeah.
something in the past.
We cannot use National Night Out though.
Right.
There's some type of legality.
Neighborhood night out. It was
Neighborhood.
Shorewood Park Night Out.
Yeah, Shorewood Park gathering.
Well, so is anything planned for that? Because that's only a week away.
Yeah.
Next year, maybe?
So Anisha had approached about doing something, and she had suggested maybe we just put something out about anybody who wants to, you bring a box of popsicles or ice cream treats, and we just meet in the park and
Say hello.
say
Doesn't have to be
hello.
anything special.
Nothing formal, or,
All right.
Yeah, but we're getting it on the website or on, listed somewhere so the neighborhood knows about
Yep.
it.
Well, we could put it on the website. Sure. And what would be the time? So that's what night?
Next Tuesday.
Tuesday the 1st?
Tuesday, August.
And I would say 6 o'clock, between 6 and 7 is probably a good time. Is 7 better than 6?
7 to 8.
the bugs get pretty bad in those parks around 7
Six.
o'clock.
Around 7.
So 6 o'clock?
That was 6 o'clock.
6, yeah.
6 to 7, bring a treat.
How about Shorewood Summerfest?
Oh, very nice.
We can start a big thing. We can put, maybe it just gets and starts gaining some momentum at that point. And people can just come by and say hi.
Okay, so I'll make a sign and I'll put it at the pump house.
Okay?
And then Matt, can you put something, if I
I'll make
send
a
you the
graphic now.
PDF of it, can you post it on the website?
Sure.
Okay?
All right. Nothing special this year, maybe it'll just start to grow a little bit more and more.
We can be more involved as a
Right.
entity.
Yep. Well, no, it's a good place to start, we gotta start somewhere.
Come meet your neighbor.
Yeah,
Yep.
meet and greet.
You can bring whatever you want. Paul.
Yes.
We officially adjourned and get it again.
Sure, what's that?
I think we need to do it again, we got cut off.
Any other new business?
No, let's move on, we're done.
Okay.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Got it.
Second. Aye.